And I am about to put a deadline. I think a deadline would be the way to describe this, on something that's been brewing since March 12th. A storyline that we've been tracking since a little bit before St. Paddy's Day. And it has to do with the NC State Wolfpack. March 12th, going back to basketball season.
So that was a while ago.
It is. Dennis and I were sitting in Washington, D.C., the home of the Washington Capitals, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, Wizards, who cares?
The site of the ACC basketball tournament, and we were watching NC State in their Tuesday first game of the ACC tournament, that if NC State men's basketball lost, their season would have been over. There would have been questions about jobs to answer. There would have been transfer questions. There would have been so many questions. And they were down 12 to Louisville, and to put it lightly, Louisville wasn't afraid. That moment, March 12th, that Dennis and I were sitting in D.C., was the last possible moment that basketball team could turn things around. If they would have waited another 5 minutes, their entire Cinderella run to the Final Four doesn't happen. They don't get a chance to beat Duke in the later on in the ACC tournament. They don't get a chance to beat UNC in the ACC championship final. They don't get a chance to beat Duke again in the Elite Eight. They don't get a chance. They don't get it. It's done. But, of course, we know how it happened. At the last possible moment, with the clock expiring, with Cinderella about to turn midnight, it clicked. NC State basketball, NC State football, we are now sitting in that very same moment. We may not be in D.C., we may not be watching the game from the Capitals arena, but Dennis and I are sitting here right now. All of us are sitting here in the triangle. NC State is at the last possible moment. If they want to go on the Cinderella run, if they want to live up to the hype from the preseason, if they want to get anywhere near what I believe their talent, specifically on offense, says they should, this Wake Forest game is being down 12 in the first half against Louisville. It is now or never. They are 3-2. If you run off, obviously if you run the table, if you win all but 1 or 2, you're going to have a consideration for the ACC championship. Probably one loss in conference is all you can suffer. But you need to catch that lightning in a bottle. You need to figure it out. And the reason why I make this narrative kind of comparison is because this team has a bunch of transfers. This team has to figure out how it works. I'm going to make a comparison player to player. KC Concepcion has to be DJ Burns. DJ Burns, some would say, was built like a different position of a football player.
Yeah.
But KC Concepcion was returning. DJ Burns was returning. KC Concepcion was the breakout star of the previous year. DJ Burns was the breakout star of the previous year. They both had major struggles up until it clicked. There was points in time where right here on this show, we, meaning I, as well as listeners, as well as callers, as well as guests, wondered out loud if DJ Burns had to make his way to the bench because he was being ineffective and wasn't playing enough. Now, no one's having that conversation about KC Concepcion, but my guy just had 4 catches for 5 yards this past weekend. He had 8 catches for 25 yards the other game. He, whether it's his fault, the quarterback, the play caller, the effectiveness hasn't been there. But then what happened with DJ Burns?
Got hot.
It clicked. Whatever it was, it clicked. And within a month, he went from the guy who was the star the previous year to a guy that wasn't able to capture it again to national commercials, to the star of the tournament, to one of the faces of college basketball. KC Concepcion has that ability. But it's got to click. And there's no more time. After this game, there's no, the Jordan Waters never fit with the scheme. It's fit now or be a disappointment as a squad. There is no more, we were trying to get Noah Rogers involved. It's get involved now or be a disappointment as a team. This is the last possible second. And part of that is because you're 3-2, but the teams make sense that you beat and lost. You won the group of 5 games. You lost to the top 20 teams. As long as Clemson keeps playing well and as long as Tennessee keeps looking like one of the best teams in the country, at the end of the year, those losses will have aged well. The scores will never age well. The game flow will never age well. But hopefully with time, distance, and the continued good play of the other squads, they'll age better than they feel right now, especially if you turn out good performances from this point forward. But that's a big if. Wake Forest is, I think, a really good litmus test. I don't think they're a world beater by any chance. Matter of fact,
Far from it.
On defense, they might be and I say might be, they're the worst team in the ACC on defense. And if you're like, oh, that's so mean to say, they've given up the most yards per game in the ACC by 70. 470.5 yards allowed by Wake Forest. That is 70 more than any other team in the conference. Second most passing yards per game allowed. Most rushing yards per game allowed. Second most points allowed per game. NC State's first, but
yeesh.
But their defense is not scary. Now's the time to make it click. Here's the dirty little secret about the NC State run, the men's basketball run. That dramatic comeback against Louisville probably doesn't happen against a better team. You get down 12 to one of the teams they beat later on, they probably aren't able to crawl out of that. And 12 mixed with the way they were playing, right? Not having momentum, all those things, down 12 to one of the better teams they play later, they probably don't come back. Make Wake Forest your Louisville.
Huh. It's one way to word it.
If Casey Concepcion has 150 yards receiving, that probably wouldn't happen against one of the better defenses you've played this year. But against Wake Forest, it might. I don't care how it happens. You just need to start making it happen. You know, every good thriller has a ticking clock. Every good thriller movie has, right, the bomb that for some reason they attached a Casio digital watch to so that the cameras can click over to it and it's ticking down. I have no idea why in every movie they want the time until explosion to be on the bomb somewhere. But in every movie they do, it's so the camera can cut there and it can go, oh no, there's only 6 minutes left. You're down to the last minute or two on the clock for NC State football this year. And I'm sensing it, right? I host an NC State football pod with Mike Lennon called Pack Therapy. New episode out tomorrow. I can tell by the comments. The fan base is still asking why. Why is the offense doing this? Why isn't so-and-so more involved? Can you explain to me why they're completing passes short of the sticks on third down? Why? There's still that. Right? And what I mean when I say there's still that is when you're asking why you still think there's chances of change. There will be a point when everybody just gets out. There will be a point when everybody just says, I'm done with this. And I'm not saying you stop going, you stop supporting. I'm saying you stop rooting for the turnaround because you recognize it's just not coming. Mm-hmm. This is the week. There are high stakes this week.
Yeah.
Very high stakes. Haven't heard anything about Grayson McCall's availability, so I assume it's going to be C.J. Bailey. I think win or lose this week decides if Grayson McCall's even an option moving forward. Because if you lose this one, you might as well play C.J. Bailey, try to get him ready for next year, try to see how much NIL money you're going to be willing to pay him for next year. If you win this, all of your goals are still on the table, if by just a hair. So then if Grayson McCall gives you the best chance to win, you do bring him back. Last possible moment. Louisville down 12, opening ACC tournament game is this weekend against Wake Forest.